Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. When Germany imposed sanctions on themselves / Russia and said we will get rid of Russian cheap gas or the cheapest gas and oil and all the resources, natural resources coming from Russia, I made a few videos claiming, not like a genius claim, it's just I think, logical prediction that Germany will shoot itself in the foot, which means their gas prices, the electricity, and all this will increase. That on top of the inflation and the post-COVID lack of productivity got the German economy in really bad shape. Actually, Germany right now is in a deficit. The budget has a deficit, which means it uses money more than it has, that comes in. So that means it adds. Think of a family. You have an income of, let's say, $100,000 a year, but your expenses per year are $120,000. And those 20,000, you do it through hanky-panky, or you print money, or you get loans. And loans have interest, and printing money, dumping money on an economy will result in inflation, obviously, especially when you don't have cheap energy. That means you can't produce things at a lower price. Therefore, you can't compete with others producing the same thing with at a cheaper cost. So we have Germany here, and I think it's in a big shape. And what did the German government do? They said we will get gas and oil from someone else, not the Russians, not a cheap one. So you have this amount from here. Here is the gas coming, the price of gas from Russia. Let's say this is coming from United States or other liquefied natural gas. I'm talking about more expensive. So this is going to be dumped on whom? The companies will still produce, bring the gas, will give it to the population. This amount right here, plus the inflation, is going to get the price actually of the consumer much higher. Now, if you don't have an increase in your income, which they don't, the inflation is high, no increase in income, that means you're screwed. Now, the energy that we use, operate our vehicles, electricity, heating, and others, these, if they jump, we're screwed very much. Why? Because we need them. We like air. You need these things to function as a normal human being in the 21st century, I would say. We can still use candles, but you can use it. I don't want it. She's too fat for me. All right, so here we have this situation where the government, the German government, I said, they were claiming we're going to subsidize. So German government said, we're going to subsidize that portion of gas that now is more expensive. We're going to subsidize. That means the consumer will pay a little bit higher, but not the whole amount. And the rest will be given by the government from where? From the budget. Now, if you do not produce, but you consume more than you produce, you don't have that. So what are you going to do? As I said, they're going to get loans, and they're going to get all kind of hanky-panky, which is going to be dumped later, as I said many times, on the German population, future generations, you, your son, your grandson. So eventually, they supposedly alleviate the pain right now, but actually they give you a longer pain. It's like the interest. Instead of paying for the product right now $1,000, you're going to pay, let's say, $5,000 in 30 years with compound interest. Let's put it this way. So yes, in time, you're going to pay 3 times more or 4 times more, depends on the interest rate. So this is what Germany did, all because they're virtuous. But if they want, but the problem is they were not asked. They made a decision for them. So let me show you this little article coming from Russia. Obviously, they are very happy to report this one, which was a normal, a normal conclusion of their, or consequence of their decision. I'm talking about the Germans. German state budget deficit soars. This is from today, the 26th of August, 2023. Brakes on energy prices have been driving government expenditures. Official data shows the German government budget deficit surged to $42.1 billion. So this will add until you balance it. So it's $45.4 billion. That was euros. In the first half of 2023, amid Berlin's effort to rein in inflation and energy prices, the Federal Statistical Office reported on Friday. According to preliminary data, the figure was 37.6 billion higher euros than in the first half of 2022, a nearly tenfold increase. When measured against the gross domestic product, GDP, at current prices, the deficit ratio was 2.1. According to the studies, government revenue amounted to 917 billion euros. So it's almost, let's say, 1 trillion in the reporting period, while expenditures were 959.3 billion euros. So expenditures bigger than the revenue. The latter spiked sharply since last year by 7.7%, largely due to the federal government's relief packages. That is, we're going to pay the difference, that aim to alleviate the pressure from high inflation and the surge in energy prices. And I'm quoting, the brakes on gas, heating, and electricity prices and the related hardship clauses applying to hospitals and care facilities caused a sharp rise in subsidies. That means government gives you money, 45.7%, or services. In the first half of 2023, year on year, it noted that additional expenditures came from the reform of federal funding of energy efficient buildings, which sparked a rise in investment grants. Meanwhile, the government's interest payments were up 38% in the first half of 2023 compared to the same period in 2022. Now, they say here that despite remaining the European Union's largest economy, Germany has been struggling with the fallout from energy crisis and persistent high inflation since last year. Heavily reliant on energy imports from Russia, the country was among the hardest hit by the reduction in Russian energy deliveries, which were either significantly curtailed or entirely halted after the EU imposed sanctions on Moscow in response to the conflict in Ukraine. This resulted in elevated energy costs, which in turn have been driving up prices in other sectors of the economy. According to recent forecasts, energy prices in Germany are likely to remain high until 2027 if we are still alive, which means that additional support measures may be necessary to avoid another crisis. So you're going to screw your life for about 4 more years, let's say 3-4 more years, or maybe more. This is the forecast, not necessarily that's the truth or what's going to happen. And after that, what? For what? For something that you don't even know? So you switch from a cheaper gas to a more expensive gas, but some of them put a medal of whatever virtue on their chest. I think it's a misguided medal of virtue in my assessment. All right, my friends, here it is. Pay more for a worse product. You get gas and energy from other areas at a higher cost, because you're a moral person. Okay, be like that. But if you're like that, why don't you just get rid of your occupiers first? If you're so moral and you're so, why don't you talk about the freedom, independence, sovereignty? If you're not independent, what are you talking about? Why don't you get rid of those nuclear weapons on your territory? Do you still have them? I can remember. Do you? And they're not yours, by the way. I'm talking about the German people right now. No? Why don't you send the Russian troops, the American troops out and send them to Romania, the border? Why do you need them in Germany? Because they don't want you to do something stupid. Why do they need troops in your country? Because you're so advanced. They take care of your industry right now. With Biden's federal, Inflation Reduction Act. They're gonna get your industry right here. Why? Because these guys are going to subsidize their industry and they have more money than you. How? Because they borrow more and they can print them. Oh my. And because they're bigger and stronger. So if you're moral, why don't you start with your own independence and stop being a servant? I used a beautiful euphemism. Okay. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.